All right, hello, welcome back to our free CCNA series for 2025. So, for today's topic, we're going to talk about the IPv6. So, why do we have IPv6 right now? And let's know the structure of this um, IP address. Okay, so if we're going to go back on our previous topic, like dealing with subnetting and also the IP address. The IP address that we know would be the IPv4. So this is the IP address that we are most familiar with, like with the format of like usually like this one for a private AP. So this is the usual format of IPv4. So we know that this consists of like 8-bit, 8, 8, 8, and 8. So in total, the IPv4 address is, we can say that this is like a 32-bit address. So meaning the total IP address that it can handle would be 2 raised to the power of 32. So if we're going to do the math, that's going to be around 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 up until 32. That will equal as to 4 billion. I did not do the whole math here because let's just go with the chat GPT. Let's see if we can do it here. 2 raise to 32. Let's just do the math because it will take us like a whole time on knowing what's the result of that if we're going to do it on the calculator. But the point is, this is the total amount that this IP address can handle. So this is 2 raised to the power of 32. So it's around 4 billion IP addresses. So that's the total amount of IP address that we can calculate or allocate using IPv4. So why we have IPv6 right now? For the reason that this IP address, this 4 billion IP address, that's already exhausted. Like if you still remember, we've discussed that there's this certain organization called IANA. So they're the one who's managing those IP addresses. So before it before it came to your ISP, like your service provider, that IP address, so the one who manages that would be this certain organization or institution that manages those IP block. So this 4 billion IP address, according to Yana, it's already been consumed since 2011 or around 2011 to 2012. So roughly that's the date wherein IPv4 is already fully exhausted. So what we're using right now, if you're going to check on their website, you can just search for the official website of Ayana and you're going to see the update on the remaining IP address that we have. So all of those unallocated IPv4 address, it's only like a recovered address, or meaning it's already been assigned to a certain organization or certain service provider, but for some reason they return it. They might be stopped operating the business. That's why we still have this unallocated IP address. But the point is, all of the unallocated IP address that we have right now, it's already been recovered. So meaning all of the IPv for all of the 4 billion, once it's already been allocated to certain organization. That's why it's important for us to know IPv6, because right now the IPv4 that we're using right now, soon we're not going to have enough IP address to accommodate, and we're going to implement or need to adapt with the changes happening right now. Even the changes that we have with the AI, with the emerging technology today, even in the network side, we have to deal with automation. Because when I started my career in CCNA, there's no automation. I don't have to learn Python. I don't have to learn Ansible. But right now in the current industry, we're slowly adapting those changes, and we are slowly adapting even the software side of the industry. So we're slowly implementing automation for the network tasks that we're doing, and even the software side, we're learning the Linux side, the server side, because right now it's always like a combination of both. Like you cannot stick with one expertise with today's industry, so you have to learn a lot of things. So even the IP address, I don't know why we came to that topic, but right now we're going to focus this IPv6 and why we have to learn this. So compared to IPv4, which is 32-bit, if you're going to see the sample of IPv6, it's a 128-bit format. So meaning, if this is 128-bit, so this would be 16-bit, 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 16, 16, 16, and 16. So in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 16 times 8. So that's so 16 times 8. So that's 128 bits. So that's the total. This is like a so if IPv4 is 2 raised to the power of 32, so we know that if it's 128 bits, that's going to be 2 raised to the power of 128. If we're going to go back to our AI, what is 2 raised to 128? So approximately, it's really, what's this? 2, what's that value? What's that value? So it's so big, 340 endecillion. I'm never saw that quite huge. So meaning if compare it to the billion, because billion is what, or billion and trillion is something that we're familiar with. So it's going to be, which is 1 billion. So what's the comparison? Like 340.3 trillion times bigger than 1 billion. So it means that's how massive this IPv6 is. So we can have all IP addresses for all devices that we have by using IPv6. And remember guys, just to give you guys a little bit of knowledge, the main reason why we have NAT, and remember we did not do any lab yet, but the main reason why we have NAT is because we have private IP. Okay, and that private IP that will be converted into public once you connect to the internet. And the main reason why we have private IP is because we're losing, or we're running out of IP addresses even before. So that's the kind of mechanism that was used to prevent exhaustion of all of the IP addresses that we have. But right now, even after that, even after implementing the IPv4 or the private IP and doing the NAT to public IP, we're still closely, or we're already maxed out all the IP addresses for IPv4. But that's the main reason why we have private IP, because in reality, Ayana could use all the IP address allocated for even for private IP to just a public IP, but we did not do that because it says, or it's decided that we can just use this kind of mechanism, and it might be a way for us to solve all of this issue with the number of IP addresses. But it turns out that we still consume all of it, and we are already in the verge of using the IPv6 format. And comparing to the numbers of IP it can accommodate, that's why if you're going to look at it, it's very threatening. If you're going to see the IP address, like this seriously looks like something that you cannot remember no matter what you do. But let's break it down. So what's the rules that we have for IPv6? So one of the rules in IPv6 is that any zeros, you can just convert it into colon. So it's just to represent it. So this one, and even like zeros at the beginning of that bit, you can just disregard it. So this one you can put this like this. So 2001, let's just put it upstairs like 2001. So one of our rule says that you can disregard 0 if it's in the beginning of that 16-bit, and also all zeros you can just put it double colon and proceed with the other IP. So 428329. So this IP address you can convert. You can represent this IP address to this kind of format. So that's how we compress this IPv6 format. Okay, and if you remember last time, if we're going to go to our packet tracer, this one. If you remember, in IPv4 we have 169.254. So that's the automatic, or the APIPA. That's the automatic IP addressing for IPv4 address. So let's check that format as well in IPv6. So let's go to our, let's say, get some router. Let's say 2901, and let's have a PC connected to that router and connect it. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to configure the IP address for gig01. So let's say config enable config terminal interface, go with the 00. So gig 00. So let's enable IP address. So IPv6 address, and then let's say that do the auto config. Okay, and if you're going to check, so interface show IPv6 interface gig 00. You're going to see it here. The format of link local IP address would be this one, FE800. I'm not sure if I can copy this. Oh no, I cannot copy. But let's just so that we can better illustrate this one. So the format would be, okay. The format would be FE80 colon 20D, so BDFF FE3 ECB01. Right. So this is the IPv6 format, and let's go. So that's the link local. So according to the rules for IPv6, so you have, let's say, let's check the IP address. Show interface gig 00. The MAC address for this one is BD3E CB01. So if we're going to check, so the link local, or the IPv6 format, so the EUI-64 says here that it always starts with FE. So this one always starts with FE80, and this FE80, you have to input here the MAC address of that interface, and in the middle, let's say in the middle of the MAC address, you're going to put FE. So if you're going to check, so the MAC address for this one, it's starting from 002 00D and BD. So up until here, you divide it you divide, this is the first half of the MAC address. We know that the MAC address is 48-bit. So the rest of the MAC address is split the 3ECB01. So this is the remaining MAC address of the interface. So MAC address, and this one is the MAC address. And according to the rule, you will put FFFE in the middle of it. Now the difference is the 7-bit. So we know that if this is like a 16-bit, we know that it's 020D, right? And the 16-bit for, or the 7th bit of this value, like this one, because it's going to be 000D. So the 000D, this one, this is like a 16-bit. So this 16-bit says here that if we're going to read the EUI-64, the 7th bit, we're going to flip it, right? So this is like the 8-bit. So that's going 0000000 2468 2468. So this is like the 8-bit. So according to Cisco, we're going, or according to IPv6, we're going to swap the 7-bit. So for us to swap the 7-bit, we're going to flip it. So from 0, we're going to convert it to 1. So from 1 to, so that's why your value here would be 020D. So this is the 7-bit. That's why if you're going to look at the link local of the IPv6, from 000D, it's converted into 020D, which is like the 7-bit of that MAC address, and flip it and convert it from 0 to 1. Okay, I know it's not so easy to digest, but that's how link local is created, and how does this changes with the link like the IPv6, or the formatting and the rules that we have for using the link local IP address. And the rest of the IPv6, that's something that we've discussed before about the format. If it's starting with 2001, it might be public IP. So I provided the list of that on our previous meeting. But it's important to know this because it's part of the Cisco exam on how the link local was created. But again, link local is just like a counterpart for a PIPA, and the link local, it would only work for that specific segment itself. Okay, so that's all for today. So that's our course or progress for IPv6 topic. So again, thank you so much. So I'm JJ, your lecturer for the entire series. See you again next week. Goodbye for now.